All right, it's that time again. Monday night, 9:15. Hey, I think we started at 9:14 tonight, perhaps.
We're Tom Coughlin time. We're early, so we're actually on time. Otherwise, we get fined. We don't want to do that. We don't want to lose money.
Mark it down. First time in like 8 weeks or however long we've been doing this, we started at 9:15. Hey, welcome to Bulldog Football Extra. Cam Worrell, Scott Bemis here. We're talking Bulldog football. We're going to look back at the San Jose State win and look ahead to Boise State this week. I can tell you're already getting pumped.
I know. I shouldn't have wore this much blue. Now, I regret it now looking down, but I'm ready to go. I was ready to go as soon as I saw that final score go across the TV, Boise over Utah State. I'm ready to hop on the plane Friday, kick this thing off.
All right, jump on. Well, if you're watching this, you're already on the KC24 Facebook page. Feel free, send comments, questions for Cam. We'll try to maybe get to some of those at the end of the show. All right, let's look back first off at what happened Saturday night at Bulldog Stadium. Game in review here. Bulldogs defeat San Jose State 31-13 to finish off the regular season. Kind of a weird game. It had a weird feel to it just because the Bulldogs had already clinched that spot in the Mountain West Championship game. You see there the total yardage, really where Fresno State took control of this game. It was in the second half. It was only 3-0 Bulldogs at halftime. They came out kind of sleepy. It took a while for them to get going, but eventually they did pull away. Bemis' ballers now. Let's take a look at who the players of the game were, in my opinion, according to Scott Bemis, of course, the most important opinion anyways. Keyshawn Johnson, how about him, Cam? Look at that. Look at those numbers. Were ridiculous. And he breaks Charlie Jones's record, and he does it on a touchdown.
Right, and he did it on a big-time touchdown, making a couple guys miss. He and Marcus finally got on the same page in that second half, and they torched that San Jose State secondary. But just like we talked about San Diego State, this offense grew with how they can run the ball against a physical 3-3-5 front. That will serve them well if they play Boise in the Mountain West title game, which they will. Just like that, they grew this week in that Marcus and Keyshawn came to the sideline. They made some adjustments themselves, and they took that game over in the second half.
And very under the radar because Keyshawn became the all-time leader in receiving yards in program history. Jared Rice, he set a new single-season record for receptions and receiving yards by a tight end, breaking Bear Pasco's record. I think Bear's probably out roping a steer or doing something tonight, competing on the pro rodeo circuit.
I think he does have a Twitter, though, and I'm sure if he noticed it, he gave Jared Rice some love because Bear is a great dude and one of the best tight ends to ever play at Fresno State, Super Bowl champion. So that's a big name for Jared Rice to take over. All
right, now one thing we like doing here on this Facebook Live edition here, this weekly edition, is looking back at the 10 game-changing plays. Going to go through these a little quicker tonight because we want to talk a little bit more about Boise State. But this is always a fun segment. 10 game-changing plays as chosen by Scott Bemis, of course. Opening kickoff, Jameer Jordan. This was really the only highlight of the first half. 65 yards, Cam.
Yeah, this is something they've been missing. They haven't gotten a lot of big returns. Ronnie Rivers had a few in the punt return game, but this is by far the longest return this season, and it's the senior Jameer Jordan. We know he has speed, and he's healthy, which he wasn't healthy with that last Boise State game. So this is a great sign for that Fresno State kick return unit.
Yeah, you saw the nice moves there. All right, on to play number 2, game-changing play number 2. And this, well, it was a Jared Rice catch, but then a fumble. I told you that the Bulldogs struggled in the first half, and this was just kind of a microcosm of what went wrong.
It was. You make a positive play, and then you make a negative play. Jared goes up and makes that catch. They would have been inside the red zone. A good job by Marcus surveying the field, buying himself some time, and then delivering accurate football to Jared Rice. You just have to secure that football. They reviewed it, determined that it was a catch and a fumble. Unfortunate Fresno State on really the one big play outside of the Jameer Jordan kick return. They cough it up on the same play.
Yeah, as I mentioned, 3-0 Bulldogs at halftime. Got a field goal right before halftime in the final seconds, or we would have been scoreless going into the half. But in the second half, things started to change. Game-changing play number 3. Marcus McMaryion to Keyshawn Johnson on the post corner to really get things going.
Yeah, and this was after Marcus took a big shot. He and Keyshawn talked about it on the sideline. This is one of the biggest route concepts for Fresno State this season. They run Jameer Jordan deep down the sideline. Keyshawn Johnson coming from the other side of the field, runs sort of an intermediate over route and gets right in front of that deep coverage guy and behind the short coverage guy. And I mean, this is 4 or 5 times he and Marcus have hooked up. Marcus has hooked up with Jared Rice a few times on the same concept. This is a concept that will definitely be in the game plan against Boise on Saturday.
All right, let's move right along then to game-changing play number 4. More Keyshawn Johnson, this time down the seam, Cam. This was nice.
Yeah, this is just Marcus looking the safety off and finding Keyshawn Johnson. He did a good job getting behind that linebacker and finding some space. And Marcus, at this point, these two were rocking. You can see him running up the seam, bending it a little bit, and then taking it back outside just to get himself away from that post safety. Great route, good, accurate football delivered by Marcus. And you see Marcus throws it, he puts it to the outside shoulder of Keyshawn so that post safety can't get to the ball. Perfect placement on that seam route.
Is that what they call throwing a guy open?
That's what they call throwing a guy open. That's what they call putting it where only your guy has a chance to get it. That's how you minimize those big turnovers. And if your receiver can go up and get it, like we know Keyshawn can, that's a big-time play.
All right, very next play then, Cam. It's Keyshawn Johnson again.
This is the record breaker right here, right?
Let's see. I think so, yeah.
Yep.
Getting into the end zone.
Same concept.
For the touchdown.
Same concept. Running the clear out, Keyshawn coming in behind it, and then run after the catch. Something Keyshawn has really improved on this year. I mean, this is making two guys miss, two secondary players miss, and walking into the end zone. Couldn't have been a better play for Keyshawn to break Charlie Jones' all-time receiving yardage record. And that's Charlie Jones is an excellent receiver here. Keyshawn has put himself atop the record books in 2 really big receiving categories.
Yeah, when you break a record, you want to do it like this.
Yep.
On a touchdown catch. That's about as sweet as it can get. Well, that made it 17-0. Now, San Jose State would get a long touchdown on a screen to make it 17-7, but game-changing play number 6, Ronnie Rivers on a little swing pass here.
Yeah, just a play-action fake, get your running back to the flat, find him quick. And if you see, Keyshawn Johnson had a big block right on that sideline to kind of spring Ronnie and give him that 4 or 5 extra yards he needs. Here you go. Here's Keyshawn coming back, making a block unselfishly, helping Ronnie Rivers into the end zone. That's what we see with these Fresno State skill position players. When somebody else has the ball, they are working their butts off to block for that guy. So, you know, they know when they have the ball, their teammates are going to do the same thing. But Ronnie has really developed into not just a weapon in the run game, but a guy who can make a big impact in the pass game. We see here just walking into the end zone.
Now, Andrew Martin actually got fooled on that play, on the play action, but he looks like a genius because he stayed with Ronnie Rivers almost like he was trying to stay with him. But, hey, shout out to Andrew for not panicking there, just staying with Ronnie Rivers, trusting that the ball was going to come his way, and it ended up working out.
Only you would know that. Nobody else.
Nobody else. But I wanted to give people a little, you know, when you tune in to Bulldog Football Extra, you get a little extra, you know. Andrew said, hey, I got fooled, but it worked out for me, right? You know, Andrew almost rarely ever gets fooled. He's pretty good with that camera. Game-changing play number 7 then, ensuing Spartan possession. Defense taking over. Tank Kelly laying a little lumber.
Yeah, you'd love to see Tank Kelly, one of the most physical guys on this defense, coming up and making a hit on a receiver that outweighs him by about 20 pounds. I think Tank's going to go to the next level and be an NFL safety. I think he's that physical. He has that sort of coverage ability, and he is fearless coming up and making hits just like that. I mean, he Jeff Allison, Mike Bell, you know, the physical beasts of this defense, and they do it week in and week out. I love watching that type of stuff.
I knew you'd get excited about that one. I knew it. Ensuing Bulldog possession then, because that forced a Spartan punt. Josh Hokett here, the leap and the fumble. This was almost incredible. Game-changing play number 8, but it turned into a turnover, unfortunately.
Yeah, I saw someone yesterday. I can't remember who it was. Chris Carson from the Seahawks. He actually jumped just like this, got his feet flipped over the top of him, and did a front flip and landed. But Josh Hokett, he thought this free safety was going to go a little bit lower because Josh is a little bit bigger than that free safety. The free safety stayed up just a little bit too high and caught Josh's foot, and then took a shot kind of right around the football right there and kind of popped it out. Almost to the ground. They reviewed that, but it stayed a fumbled on the field. That dude's an athlete. You have to protect the football a little better than that.
What are the coaches saying in the film room this week to him? Are they saying don't do that anymore, or do they don't try to discourage this, or how does it work?
They're fine with that. He just has to secure the football. If you're going to go up and try and make a play like that, make sure you have firm possession of the football, because, you know, 9 times out of 10, the free safety in the middle field, they are going to take a shot around the knees. I used to do it all the time. You don't stay up top with those big running backs. So it's a smart play, but you have to secure the football. If you're going to put yourself in that position, you have to make sure that football is secure.
All right, we're going to finish off with a couple defensive plays then. Game-changing play number 9, and this really was the play of the night. Aaron Mosby, the sophomore out of Sanger, doing the Apaches proud, doing the Bulldogs proud with a 95-yard interception return for a touchdown.
You see some of these guys sometimes, linebackers who were skill players in high school. Aaron Mosby is playing outside linebacker. He played a little safety last year, played a little safety this year. They move him down. He's going to replace James Bailey when James Bailey's gone. He's played some nickelback this year already, but this is a skill guy. This is a guy who had the ball in his hands in high school for Sanger because he knows exactly what to do with the football. Take it up the numbers. Don't go to the sideline. Give yourself some room, and then if you get a chance to cut back and outrun those offensive linemen. I'm excited for the future for Aaron Mosby here as a Fresno State Bulldog because he is going to be a big-time piece for this defense over the next couple of years.
Yeah, when you have a linebacker who can catch the football like that, that speaks well for
and that speed. I mean, he outran
future.
Every skill position player coming from the opposite side of the field. Even one of the running backs, Richardson, who took that screen the distance, he outran him. That's getting it done for an outside linebacker.
All right, now moving on to game-changing play number 10. More defense. Mike Bell with a huge hit. And I feel kind of bad because this is Michael Harris III for San Jose State. He's a Valley guy, Redwood High School,
hey,
but he took a shot.
I mean, you better get your pads low when Mike Bell's coming to hit you. You know he's going to come and deliver a blow like this. Mike Bell is a big dude, 6'3", 215, and he flies to the football. We could watch this on loop over and over and over. You're right, a Valley guy, but hey, Mike Bell, one of the favorites on the defense. Oh, man, I love that. A guy he's been a big part, going to play a big part coming up on Saturday if Fresno State is going to win. Mike Bell is going to have an impact for this defense.
6'3", 205 pounds coming at you with some speed right there.
Flying at you.
Yeah.
Full speed. And as you can see, no regard for his body. He threw all that 215 behind that hit.
All right. So 31-13 final. The Bulldogs wrap up, the regular season, but now we're moving on. The game that everybody is talking about, Fresno State at Boise State this weekend because Boise State wins over Utah State on Saturday night as well. Wins a tight one, but pulls it out. So they are your Mountain Division champion. Fresno State, your West Division champion. So here's what's next. Should say Fresno State at Boise State, of course, right there. I put this together kind of quick, Cam. Can you tell? 4:45 p.m. Saturday night on ESPN, the Mountain West Championship game. Fourth meeting here in the last 371 days. That's crazy. And a winner here could have a shot at a New Year's Six bowl if number 9 UCF loses on Saturday in the American Championship game. And remember, UCF, I hated seeing it, but they lost Mackenzie Milton to kind of an ugly injury on Saturday. So they're going to be going in there with a backup quarterback. They're only about a 3-point favorite in that game over Memphis. And that game will be over by the time the Fresno State-Boise State game kicks off. So, I mean, this is about as big as it gets.
It is. I'm with you. You don't like to see any player go down, especially a player as dynamic as Mackenzie Milton. He goes down. This was a Memphis team that should have beaten UCF in the regular season. UCF beat them 31-30. Now their starting quarterback is out. 3 points is probably pretty fair. UCF is going to be at home. If UCF loses, this is the biggest game in Fresno State football history. A win will send you to the Fiesta Bowl. Not a bowl in Phoenix, not the Cheez-It Bowl that exists in Phoenix, the actual Fiesta Bowl. Fresno State will finally crack into that BCS New Year's Six bowl that we've been trying to reach since 2001. And it's fitting that they have to go through Boise State if UCF loses. And it's fitting that they have to go to the Blue and beat Boise on their home field because Boise took so much away from us in 01. It's fitting that this team should have to win on the Blue to get it done. You have to go through the champ to be the champ, and that's the opportunity Fresno State has on Saturday.
If they do end up at the Cheez-It Bowl, though, my 5-year-old son and my 2-year-old daughter, I think, would really like it, especially if that comes with free Cheez-Its for Dad if he's covering it. That'd be good stuff. So what do we know about Boise State? Well, we know a lot, but we're going to show you a full screen anyways. I mean, we've played them 3 times, right, in the last 2 years. But 10-2, 7-1 in the Mountain West, coming in on a 7-game winning streak. Offense averaging 37 points per game. That's second in the conference. Rushing 5th in the conference, but they ran the ball really well against Fresno State a few weeks back, and that might have been the difference in the game, or at least one of the key differences. As you can see, a dynamic passing offense, though, there with Brett Rippon, who's the all-time active leader in Division I in passing yards. And then there you see their defense as well. A defense that gets a lot of sacks, is missing a couple key guys on that defensive side of the ball, but they did enough to slow down Fresno State last time.
They did, and they did it with scheme. We saw on Fresno State's last drive, they had 3rd and 5. They give up an A-gap pressure, which if you're going to give up pressure, make them run the furthest distance to the quarterback, not right down the middle. But Fresno State busted a protection because Boise State is so good at disguising where the pressure is going to come from. And sometimes they mask it so well that they only send 4, but still mess up your protection because they show so many different looks. So, I mean, that is, we'll get into it, but even though they're down guys, they still do such a good job of disguising where they're going to come from that it gives a lot of teams fits. They get tackles for loss because in that zone blocking scheme, you don't know where the guy is going to end up, and they get free rushes to the running back. So it's a big test. Even though they're down a few pieces, still a big test schematically for this Fresno State offense.
Let's run through the series history here. As mentioned, 4 times. This will be the 4th meeting in the last 2 years. Boise has not been good to the Bulldogs. As you can see, Boise State leads the overall series 15-6, 10-1 all time in Boise, and the Bulldogs have never won since the blue turf was installed in 1986. Rematch of that 2017 Mountain West Championship game in Boise, won by Boise State 17-14. And Cam, let's get to your 3 keys here. Your 3 keys to Fresno State walking away a conference champion.
Yeah, number 1, sustain drives by converting 3rd downs. Fresno State is one of the leaders in the Mountain West in converting 3rd downs offensively. They were 2 of 10 in that first Boise State matchup. That was really the difference. Boise State was really good on 3rd down offensively. Fresno State was really bad on 3rd down. So you have to convert to keep those drives alive. Number 2, just kind of touched on it, communicate protections versus that Boise State front 7. They're not always going to send 5 or 6. Sometimes they'll send 4. Sometimes they'll send 3. But you have to communicate where the threats are, and you have to take care of the immediate threats and then fan out and take care of the exterior threats. So that is, I mean, that probably, the number 1 key. Although if you don't convert 3rd downs, your defense gets back on the field, and Boise took advantage of that last time. Number 3, gap sound run defense. It looked like when you're watching the TV copy of the first Fresno State-Boise matchup, it looked like Boise State just physically pounded Fresno State in the second half. And Alex Madison ran hard. He broke some tackles. But when you watch the tape, it's unsound gap responsibilities by this defense. Meaning, if a guy's responsible for the A gap between the center and the guard, take care of the A gap. Once the ball gets past you, then you can come out of that gap and make a tackle. But you can't peek in the B gap and allow Alex Madison to cut back in that A gap. And that's what this defense did continuously in that Boise State second half. And they didn't do it in any half before, and they haven't done it in any half since. I think this defense understands what they have to do as far as being gap sound to stop this Boise rush attack.
Jacob Bruno, he's a good friend of Facebook Live here. He said, bittersweet game last Saturday night. Loved Coach Hill calling San Jose mustard, right, during the hot dog race?
Hot dog race,
that was good stuff. Michael Maconian asking, what do the Dogs need to do differently this time around in Boise to get the job done?
Well, they have to convert 3rd down. I mean, that's what I would go to first and foremost. This offense has been so good all season long at sustaining drives, getting themselves in position to put points on the board. And against Boise, they were 2 of 10. They are right around 50% for the entire season, and they were 20% against Boise. So they have to convert those 3rd downs, even if you don't put points on the board. Boise State was down 17-3 in that last matchup. They take it down on a long drive. It's 17-10. Fresno State comes out. What do they do offensively? A 3-and-out. Boise gets it back. Next thing we know, it's 17-17. If Fresno State just picks up a couple firsts down, they're able to flip field position a little bit. Now it's a little bit tougher for Boise State to drive the ball down and score touchdowns, which they didn't do in the first half. So have to convert those 3rd downs. You have to keep that offense on the field to keep that defense off. I think they got a little bit worn down. They made mistakes mentally, but they were a little bit worn down in that 3rd quarter last time.
Joshua and Myra Escobar, talking about the cold. It's going to be colder when they play this weekend. Forecast looks pretty similar, I think, but probably in the, low to mid-30s in Boise come Saturday night. Be starting a little earlier in the evening, so it won't extend late into the evening when it does get a little bit colder. He's asking what can they do to prepare for that cold weather a little better?
Nothing.
Nothing you can do.
Sit in AC, all day long, get it down to 40. I mean, there's really nothing you can do. The Fresno State during the week of practice, they will throw wet footballs to, mimic if it does get slick or wet a little bit out there, that Marcus McMaryion can grip the football. Receivers are used to catching a football that is slippery. Backs have, really good ball security with a slick football. That's really the only thing you can do. They'll pipe in crowd noise to mimic the Boise crowd when they're on offense trying to communicate. Outside of that, there's nothing you can do in Fresno, California. I mean, this team practices early. It's in the 40s sometimes when they're out there on the practice field. That's about the only thing you can do. Get out there when it's a little bit chilly, but there's nothing you can do in Fresno to mimic what it's going to be like in Idaho. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. They are playing earlier. The wind is going to be less of a factor. It was a little bit of a factor in the Mountain West title game last year. I think this year it's going to be a little chilly, but nothing to affect really the outcome or the way these teams can play on the field Saturday night.
Mark Marin with a little hashtag Go Dogs. Appreciate that, Mark. Jim Bonstein, we need to keep our defense off the field as much as possible. Make sure we do a good job tackling, especially on long pass plays. Here's my question to you, Cam. This whole dynamic of playing a team this many times, in 2 years, and playing them 3 weeks ago and playing them again, how much will the game plan change?
Well, this is kind of like an old division rivalry game in the NFL. This is commonplace in the NFL, right? You play division opponents twice every single season, so you play them 4 times in the span of 371 days like Fresno and Boise will play. You'll take what worked against the base stuff your opponent does, and you'll try to build upon that for this next matchup. There's not going to be any secrets between these two teams. Maybe a few wrinkles based on what they saw in just the previous matchup, not the 2 last year. They'll still break down those 2 from last year, but they're going to look at both these teams. What worked against Fresno State's base stuff or what worked against Boise's base stuff, and how can we build upon what works? So once we hit that play, now let's have something that goes on top of that play. That's where you start to see more of an offense, maybe more schemes that you don't see during the regular season because you have so much more information to take into this game. So you see a few wrinkles, but there's no secrets. You know what Boise's going to try to do: control the clock, pound the ball on 1st and 2nd down, let Brett Rippon convert 3rd down and sustain long drives, take a shot when they cross the 50. And for Fresno State, Marcus is going to try to move with some tempo. They're going to try to run the football as well, but they're going to try to move it quickly. And it's going to be the battle of tempos. Boise won the battle of tempo against Utah State last week. Boise held the ball for 42 minutes. Utah State 17. If Boise does that on Saturday, it's Boise State will be the Mountain West champions. It's up to Fresno State offensively to sustain, and defensively they have to get off the field on 3rd down.
Eric Barboza, we love Eric. Thanks for checking us out. Appreciate it, my man. I think the #1 key to the game, stopping the Boise running game, and specifically Alexander Madison. Yep. The battle of the trenches will decide this one. I've heard you talk about these two teams as we were breaking down the first game, and Cam, you think maybe position for position, Fresno State has more talent than Boise State. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, especially right now. Boise State is pretty banged up, but when you look at that offense, I think Fresno State's skill position players on the outside, including Jared Rice, they're better than Boise State's skill position guys. A.J. Richardson is good, Sean Modster is good, but I don't think they're exceptional. I think Keyshawn Johnson is exceptional. I think Jared Rice is an exceptional tight end. Alex Madison, going into the last game, he had not run as physically as he ran against Fresno State, and he's continued that. So you have to give the advantage to Alex Madison because of the way he's played over the last 3 weeks. But Mims, Ronnie Rivers, Hokett, a healthy DeJounte O'Neal adds a little bit something different to that offense. So skill position-wise, I think Fresno State's better offensively. Defensively, by far, Fresno State is more talented than Boise State defensively because Boise State is banged up. But the caveat to all that, Curtis Weaver, Jabril Frazier are the 2 best defensive players outside of Jeff Allison that will take the field Saturday night, and they are 2 players who can wreak havoc in the backfield when you're trying to throw the football. You only need 1 or 2 of those guys to make a big impact, and Boise State does have those guys. But man for man, talent-wise, Fresno State is the more talented team. They will be the more talented team Saturday night in Boise.
Now, one matchup I can't wait to see. Every time these two teams have gotten together for the last couple of years, out there on the outside, Keyshawn Johnson getting matched up with a Fresno kid. Edison High's Tyler Horton. Tyler, a senior now. He's an all-conference type of guy.
Yeah.
And those two have gone at it in these games. You looking forward to that one?
Yeah, Keyshawn won that one in Boise. Not only did they single Tyler Horton up, but Keyshawn made catches and broke tackles. He ran the ball physically after the catch. Tyler Horton is going to be pumped for this game because Keyshawn got the best of him. He really battled both Jameer and Keyshawn last year in Fresno. Jameer got a long one on him. He played really well in Boise when they went back there. Tyler Horton's an NFL corner. Keyshawn Johnson is an NFL receiver, so they're going to go at it again. If Boise singles up Keyshawn Johnson with Tyler Horton, Marcus McMaryion is going to go at Tyler Horton because they feel they have the advantage regardless of who is on Keyshawn Johnson. So I'm pumped, and that will be a big key. If they can take advantage of single coverage on Keyshawn Johnson, especially with their Boise's best corner on Keyshawn, could be a big night for Marcus in that passing game.
Frank Chimienti, I believe I'm saying that correctly, says kicker needs to make some field goals, especially if it comes down to an Asa Fuller kick late. And considering that these games have all come down to the fourth quarter over the last 2 years, that very well could come down to a field goal. But Ace has made some big kicks as well this year. He's missed some extra points, but he's got a pretty good leg, right? And he can make a field goal from distance.
I think inside of 40 yards, you're extremely confident in Asa Fuller. I mean, if you think about the 40-plus kick that he kicked at the beginning of the game and how bad that looked, and then you take the 37-yarder that he made at the end of the first half, the 37-yarder would have been good from 50. I think he just has a different confidence when he's inside of 40 for whatever reason. Inside of 40, complete confidence in Asa Fuller. Outside of 40, that's when it's decision time for Jeff Tedford. Do we try to get 3 on the board? Do we try to convert if it's 4th and short? Or do we try to pin Boise State deep and make them drive 95-plus yards against our defense?
Paul Nunez saying we must pressure Rippon, and the secondary must come up big. And look at the San Diego State versus Boise State game film.
Yes.
I'm sure they are. But on Paul's recommendation, I'm going to say it right now. Coach Tedford, go look at that San Diego State-Boise State game film. What did you see from that? Because San Diego State really shut down the Broncos in Boise.
Yeah, shut them down. They gave up 13 points, but they battered Brett Rippon. That's what they did. From snap number 2 till the end of the first half, they battered Brett Rippon, and Brett Rippon wanted no part of that San Diego State defense. He threw 2 picks. They brought a backup in. He threw a pick to give Brett Rippon a spell in the middle of the football game. So we can say this for every quarterback. Marcus McMaryion, Saturday night, took a couple big shots early, took him a while to get settled. Brett Rippon got beat up against San Diego State, and he looked like a completely different quarterback. So if you can get to Brett Rippon, if you can batter him early, that will be a huge benefit to this Fresno State defense.
And Freddie Franco, friend of the program, checking in from Hanford. We love Freddie. Says, Cam, great job all year on the sidelines. Love your analysis.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
This was a fun season to be on the sideline.
Yeah. Rob Bentley saying, I think Emeka Endo is out. I saw that post as well.
Yeah.
Looks like he had a season-ending surgery of some sort. Any other injury concerns or updates involving any of the key guys for the Dogs?
Everybody else is ready to go. Cyrus Tuatelli was just coming back in that first Boise game. He is now healthy. Jameer Jordan had some breathing issues of some sort in that first Boise game. He will be 100% on Saturday. So Fresno State is really healthy. That offensive line, they've now played 3 full games together. I think that's why we've seen that running game start to gain a little bit of traction each week. So Fresno State is extremely healthy. And Emeka Endo, he's been out for a majority of the season. They were hoping that he would be able to make it back potentially for a game like this in the Mountain West title game. Just couldn't get it done, so decided to get the procedure done and get ready for next season.
I mean, except maybe for the offensive line and a few bumps and bruises here and there, like with Jeff Allison, this and that. I think the Bulldogs have been pretty healthy this year, right?
Yeah, I mean, they lost their best offensive lineman in week 2 in Natani Muti, but if you think about the guys you expected to make plays coming into the year, all of those guys had made plays. Josh Hokitz hasn't been as big of a piece of this offense as he was last year, and I'm not really certain if he's been banged up from time to time. But if you look at this Boise State roster, I mean, almost every single starter on their defense, outside of maybe Curtis Weaver and Jabril Frazier, they've missed time. Some of them extended time throughout the season, and they're still on a 7-game win streak. They're still sitting with the Mountain West title game at home. So, they've gone through a lot of attrition, and you have to give them a lot of credit. You have to give Brian Harsin and his staff a lot of credit for continuing to get these guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to play at a high level. Because you look at the starting lineup they had week 1, it looks drastically different than the starting lineup in now week 13.
All right, it's prediction time. All right, we do it every we do it every week, at least here on Bulldog Football Extra. Somebody asked us the first week, and then we decided to make it a weekly tradition. So we're gonna give our prediction. Why don't you go first, Cam?
Well, Jeff Tedford has never lost a game as a head coach here at Fresno State when he has scored 20 points or more. So I'm going Fresno State 24, Boise State 20. It's going to be close. I think Asa Fuller is going to kick one through. He is going to make one. I think this is going to be a 4-quarter battle just like we expect it to be. But I think Fresno State will have answers for 1, Alex Madison, 2, that Boise State pass rush, and 3, somebody, Jameer Jordan, Darion Grimm, somebody who hasn't played a huge part in this offense is going to have a big explosive play, and that's going to be your difference Saturday night.
Real quick, before I get to my prediction, Jim Bonstein asking, will the marching band travel to Boise? I think because it's a Mountain West championship game, I don't know that for a fact, but I think there's a good chance that they would travel to Boise.
They were there at the Mountain West title game last year. I can't confirm that they're going to be there, but they were there last year. I kind of expect them to be because, it's not just a Boise State home game, it's a Mountain West title game. So hopefully they're there. It adds to the entire atmosphere. It adds to the environment.
Even for the regular season game a few weeks back, there were some cheerleaders there for Fresno State, and a timeout was there, and they were running with the Fresno State flag in that Boise State end zone. It was pretty cool. It's kind of amping things up a little bit. All right. I know you guys are really waiting for my prediction, not Cam's. I mean, you'd rather hear from the sports guy who played golf in high school as opposed to the former NFL guy. But here's my prediction, and it's very similar to your prediction. Of course, I can't pick Boise State. We're in Fresno. I can't pick Boise State.
I might punch you if you did.
Yeah. So
just out of reaction.
So here's my prediction. I think it's going to be kind of a grinded out game. I think when teams see each other this many times in a short period of time, I think that defense has a little bit of an advantage there. And so I think points are going to be at a premium. And so I think it will come down to a field goal. It will come down to a field goal late. I think Asa Fuller kicks a field goal late to win the game for the Dogs, 23-20. And UCF loses, and the Dogs are going to the Fiesta Bowl.
Let's go. Let's book our ticket right now to Phoenix. We're going with Scott Bemis, 23-20. Fresno State wins. I mean, I'm going to be glued to the TV to watch that UCF game versus Memphis with anticipation that Fresno State has an opportunity. All you want is an opportunity. All Pat Hill spoke about when he was the head coach here. Give us an opportunity. We will play anybody, anytime, anywhere. Now give us an opportunity against some of the best at the end of the season. We never got it done. We never put ourselves in the position back then because you had to run the table. Now, UCF goes down. The Mountain West champ will go to that Fiesta Bowl, and Fresno State will have that opportunity Saturday night.
Real quick, what's the last few words that Jeff Tedford says to his team in the locker room?
I think Jeff Tedford says, we've been here twice in the last 371 days, and you watched that film just like I did. We were the better team for more of those 2 games than we were. Now let's go finish this one. We didn't finish 2 times on the road. We finished 1 time at home. Now it's our chance to go out and finish on this. He won't say blue turf because he avoids that. Finish on the road at Boise State to win the Mountain West title.
And if you're in Fresno or in the Central Valley and you're thinking about going to this game, don't think any longer. Hey, make the plans, get up there. I think it will be worth it. The Fresno State section was loud and proud last time. It'll be a hostile environment. But hey, where would you rather be if the Bulldogs are able to pull this out?
It's a 13-hour car ride, so not very doable.
Nothing.
Very doable.
Nothing. Cam's not driving. He's flying. On the team plane with food, everything else. It'll be nice.
Come on. You're kind of killing my tough persona. But yeah, that's it. You're right. I fly with the team, get candy bars, take Snickers bars home.
All right, before we say goodbye, what time are you on the air on Saturday and on 940 ESPN?
Oh, I think it's a 4:45 Pacific kick, so Game Day Live, 2 p.m. Official pregame show 3:45. So I'll be on right about 3:30. Difference Making Dogs. Tony Diodato and Christopher Gabriel will be on right at 2 o'clock, and then 4:45. Time to kick it off.
All right. And we, of course, will have a full breakdown for you on the Bulldog Insider, as well as Andrew Martin in Boise starting Friday night with live reports. We'll have a live report on Saturday, and then we'll break it all down Sunday for you in the Bulldog Insider when we have Cam back in. And then next week, in this very time slot here, for another Facebook Live edition of Bulldog Football Extra. Thanks for your comments, guys. Thanks for your questions. We will see you Sunday night. Go Dogs.
Yes, sir.